Before getting into the video, I want to say that thank you guys so much for all the support I've been getting. I did not think I'd be getting this many views, this many subscribers, and thank you guys so much. I love all of you for subscribing, watching my content, liking all of it. I love it so much. Such a good feeling, and I love making the content. In this video, I'm ranking every single weapon in World at War Zombies. This list, just saying now, is kind of hard to do because on one hand, you have literally the worst weapons in zombies. On the other hand, you literally have gotcha weapons. Obviously, they're not infinite damage, but you know, they're still insanely good weapons. Now, I'm including the ray gun and the Wunderwaffe because including both of those, there's only 24 weapons in total. Since World at War, you know, it only has 4 maps, and they really didn't add any other weapons. Another thing, I'm not including each individual variant of every weapon. So, for instance, the M1 Grand, it has the normal version, then it has the one with the launcher. I'm making it as just one singular weapon, if that makes sense. There are other weapons that obviously have different variants, but just making them as one weapon, not separately ranked weapons. And you might be asking, how am I ranking these? Well, since these weapons, you know, you either have terrible or you have god tier, I'm ranking them based off how effective are they at bringing you to round 30. Why round 30? I just, you know, said that round because I figured that's the round where kind of even the god tier weapons start to, you know, be bad. So I'm hoping round 30 is good enough. I don't know. And that's kind of the best way I thought of how to rank these. Now, lastly, if any of the weapons kind of seem in a weird spot, it's because I tried to base the ones that I really struggled with. What other weapons would I prefer to use over these ones, if that makes any sense? So, for instance, the Flamethrower is a good example because that one I wasn't sure where to rank it, but I just put on the list based off of what weapons would I prefer to use over this. That's all I have to say. So let's go ahead and move on to the ranking. So this shouldn't be a surprise to anybody if you've at least played World at War one time or know what the Springfield is, have heard of it or anything like that. Now let's explain why this thing is so terrible. So one, it doesn't actually have a pack-a-punch variant. This is only on Verrucht, and I think that's it. I might be wrong about that. I know it's not on Derice, I know it's not on Noct. I don't know if it's on Shinonuma, it might be. But this thing is literally the weakest weapon in COD Zombies history besides the starting pistol, but I feel like a starting pistol is better because you can actually utilize it to get points. But the Springfield, it literally does 100 damage at its max. That's literally it. It's only a 1-shot in round 1, and after that it becomes 2-shot in round 2, which is terrible. Even in the head, it is a 2-shot in round 2, and the worst part about this weapon is the iron sights are off. So if you actually try to use the iron sights to shoot towards the head, sometimes you'll literally miss because the iron sights are not aligned correctly. And I thought at one point this thing was literally a 2-shot and insta-kill. I thought it used to be, but maybe they fixed that, I don't know. But this is still literally the worst weapon in COD Zombies, period. Alright, so the next 2 weapons I have is the Arasaka and the Kar 90 AK. I'm putting the Arasaka next because the Kar 90 AK actually has a pack-a-punch variant. Now, the unpacked variants of these two are very, very similar. The Arasaka actually does not have a pack-a-punch variant. It's just the Kar 90 AK. The Arasaka and the Kar 90 AK, I believe they do like 200 damage, I think, in the head. I might be wrong, somewhere around that area, but they are still better than the Springfield. Arasaka, it's obviously worse because it doesn't have a pack-a-punch variant. The Kar 90 AK, on the other hand, it does have a pack-a-punch variant. It does become much better than its unpacked variant, but it's still complete garbage. I'd rather have anything else over this thing. This thing will not bring you to high rounds, and neither of them will. I mean, I prefer the Arasaka over the Kar 90 AK, but obviously the Kar 90 AK has packed a variant. But these are where these two come in. Honestly, depending on who you are, you could kind of flip-flop them, but obviously the Kar 90 AK has a packed variant, so obviously that will be better in the long run. Alright, so the M1 Grand and the Gewehr, they are also very, very similar weapons. They're obviously miles better than the Kar and the Arasaka, but next I have the M1 Grand. These two you could honestly flip-flop. M1 Grand, it's literally just a semi-auto rifle. That's all it is. When you pack it, it becomes pretty decent. It's not the best. Obviously, you can have the launcher on it, but splash damage in this game is terrible. You will most likely kill yourself with this thing before you actually kill zombies if you're using the launcher part. M1 Grand is pretty okay in early rounds, not the best. The Gewehr is also kind of the same thing. It's pretty good to have on early rounds. The packed Gewehr felt like it was better than the M1 Grand when I was actually using it in game. That could just be me, but this is how I'm ranking these two right here. The Panzerschreck is actually a very, very strong weapon in this game, but since splash damage is such a bad thing in this game, you'll literally kill yourself with this thing before killing any zombie. M1 Grand is kind of similar with the launcher, but this thing will literally kill you instantly, I think, if you don't have Jug, which is terrible. Now, when I was actually using this thing, it is pretty good to use when you're camping with it, when it's pack-a-punch. If you actually go all the way to the back of the catwalk, kill the zombies that are going up the stairs like I'm using it now. It was actually very, very effective using it this way. It surprised me a lot, but it doesn't really have a whole lot of ammo, and this game just really isn't meant for explosive weapons because you will die so fast using them. I don't like putting a flamethrower this low because it actually can be considered best weapon in World at War, or one of the best, like the top 3, because technically speaking it is infinite damage and infinite ammo. But actually using this thing, if you're not on knocked, it's pretty much useless, because on knocked it's the only thing that'll bring you to high rounds. Other than that, there's literally no point in using this thing, and in my opinion I feel like knocked is just such a boring map that I would not ever find myself using a flamethrower. I will note that it is very, very good, don't get me wrong. I know the flamethrower is one of the best weapons in World at War Zombies, but in practicality this thing literally will not bring you to high rounds unless you're playing knocked. It's really not that good. It takes a while for the zombies to actually die, and a lot of the time you'll probably die using this thing before you actually kill the zombies, and you run so damn slow with this thing. If you don't know how to use it right, you will die with this thing, which is so sad and tragic, man. So when I was using the Magnum, I really thought it was going to be terrible, but it was actually one-shotting in the gameplay here. I cannot remember for the life of me what round I was on, but I think I was on like round 20 or something like that, or somewhere near that. It was still one-shotting in like the upper chest and head, obviously. It was just surprising me so much. This thing was still one-shotting on the round I was on. It was actually crazy. Now the unpapped version obviously is terrible. You never want it. Pistols just aren't usually that good in zombies unless you're like on BO3, I guess. Pistols just never really have been that good. There's obviously LMGs, SMGs, ARs, all that full auto weapons are just superior in every way possible. But the Magnum, honestly, I feel like it can go here, man. Maybe it can go even higher depending how you use it. It is actually really, really good. Really surprised me. The M1A1 Carbine has always just had like one of the biggest flaws in this game, which is when you pack it, it does not even get a bigger ammo clip. Obviously the unpacked version is a semi-auto rifle. It's okay. It's like a round 10 weapon, and then you gotta get rid of it. When you pack it, it becomes full auto. It does actually become pretty decent when you pack it, but the problem is it still has the same ammo clip when you pack it, and it's full auto now, so it's even worse with the ammo. I think it has like 15 shots in the clip. I think when it's obviously unpacked, that clip is pretty good because it's a semi-auto, but when you pack it, you're gonna be reloading more than you're actually gonna be shooting, something you do not want. Now obviously, as I said, this thing is pretty decent. It can maybe bring you like to the 20s, maybe? That is if you use it right. Obviously the clip, as I said, is too small to actually camp with this thing. So as we all know, dogs in World at War are very, very terrifying enemies to deal with, and the double barrel and the trench gun are obviously very good weapons to have against the dogs. You want to have a weapon that is good against the dogs because for some reason they just tank normal weapons. They just do not die when you're using full auto weapons. The double barrel is very, very effective against the dogs if you can actually aim it right, because sometimes this thing will not kill the dogs for some reason, but if you actually, you know, can hit the dog perfectly with this thing, they will die in one shot, unlike full auto weapons which take an entire fucking clip. Now double barrel is also just a weapon that doesn't really do good in World at War because it's a double barrel. You're only going to be shooting 2 shots at one time, then reload. That just isn't a good thing. You want to have a weapon that is constantly shooting, constantly putting damage into those zombies so you can kill them. Now double barrel is pretty strong. I'll give it that. It is very, very strong as a weapon on its own, but compared to everything else on this list that's above it, it just does not shine as well. So I think most of us know the troll room in Verrucht. When you go into this room that doesn't spawn, that's worth a lot of points, and all you find in it is a deployable bar that's 2,500 points, and you can't even deploy. You can't even use the bipod, which is tragic. Obviously, I'm not talking about that variant, but obviously I want to have an introduction to the bar. We all know that it is kind of like a troll weapon in this game, but the bar isn't really that bad. It kind of surprised me when I was using it. Obviously, it's kind of like a full auto weapon, but at the same time, it doesn't shoot fast. It's kind of like a semi-auto mixed with a full auto. It's kind of weird. You'd expect it to maybe be a semi-auto when you actually shoot it, but in reality, it's like a full auto. I don't know. It's just a weird weapon to use. It's not super good because its fire rate is so slow. I mean, you know, if I had to come down to it and I had to grab this, I would take it, but obviously there's much better weapons in this thing. Now, I don't want to put this weapon here, but since it is a sniper and you run so slow with it, it doesn't really work in World at War that well. This is the PTRS. Now, this thing actually has the highest damage per bullet in this game. I think if you're excluding the ray gun and Wunderwaffe, it actually might do more damage per shot than the ray gun. I don't know, but it does like 10,000 damage in one shot, which is absolutely insane. Obviously, we all know the pack name is the best, the Penetrator. We all love it, but this thing is actually really good. Now, obviously, I'm not trying to say this thing is bad by any means, putting it this low. I mean, we're kind of like the middle of the road, but this thing just doesn't really work for World at War. Doesn't really work for zombies because you run so slow with it, but still, this thing is an amazing choice. If you're trying to get the high round, this thing will actually power through the round if you're not getting cornered. If you use it right, it will just power through the zombies. Now, putting the MP40 this high might be a little controversial because it's actually not a good weapon when it comes down to it. It's meant more for points than anything. People like this thing because it's bad, because it can give you points, because it's weak. I'm putting it here only because it's so useful in early rounds. It can get you through those early rounds really quickly. It's on the wall, gets you a lot of points, and that's kind of it. When you pack a punch it really doesn't get that good. It runs out of ammo really fast, but still it has a special place in my heart. I love the MP40. It's just such an amazing point weapon. Alright, now we have the FG42. This is kind of weird to rank because it's like a LMG, I think, but it feels like an SMG or an AR. I don't know. This thing is just a weird weapon. It has a lot of fucking recoil. It's surprisingly on the wall, which is great. It's actually in a pretty good spot on Derice. It's like right next to Speed Cola, which is a place that you're actually gonna walk past a lot. But it runs out of ammo so quickly. It shoots so fast. But since it shoots so fast, it puts out so much damage per second that you're probably gonna be able to get to higher and higher rounds. Obviously, this thing will not bring you to like the 30s because it runs out of ammo so quick, but it shoots so fast it makes that up because it just, the DPS is so high. Now we're moving on to the top 10. Now to start off our top 10, we have the STG. Now, fun fact, I think this is literally the thinnest weapon in COD Zombies. It literally is like paper. I love how thin it is. It's just so goofy looking. But this thing is in a really good spot. It's right next to the catwalk, just in a very convenient spot. And since it's a wall weapon and it's right next to the catwalk, it's really good. It has pretty decent damage. I wouldn't say it's outstanding or anything, but since it's on the wall next to the catwalk, able to keep buying ammo, it's really good. I don't think it'll bring you to the 30s or anything, but still, it's so good to have since it's right next to the catwalk. Alright, coming in at our number 9 spot, we have the trench gun. This is in a very awkward spot under Reese, but this thing is actually much stronger than I remember, and this, I believe, is the best weapon against the dogs in this game. As I said earlier, the double barrel and the trench gun are the two best weapons against the dogs, and since the trench gun is on the wall, like the double barrel, it's just such a good weapon for the dogs. This thing has a bigger clip size, I guess. It's not really clip size, it's more like it has shells than the double barrel, so you'll be able to pump out more kills, more damage. The dogs will die faster, sooner, all that stuff, and it's just overall a very solid choice to have if you wanted to kill dogs, that is. If you want to kill zombies, it's still good, but don't use it like past like the 20s. Putting the Type 100 here might not be the best idea because it's not really as amazing as the weapons previous, but I don't know, it really surprised me for how good this thing was doing in round 21. It is on the wall, but it's obviously in a spot that is not very noticeable. It's in, I think, teleporter A, I believe, or C, I can't remember. I don't know what teleporters are which, but it's in the teleporter that is next to double tap, where the Thompson is basically. I personally always forget there's even a wall buy in there, but the Type 100 is in there. It's very strong. If it comes down to it, I would just love to use this thing if I get out of the box. It's just so unique also. Like when you're holding it, you hold the clip on the side. It's so cool. I love talking about this because it's just such a cool looking weapon and it does so much damage. Now we have the Thompson. I believe the best wall weapon in World at War is the Thompson. This is always just placed in such a convenient spot on Derice. It's literally right outside of spawn. You always get it. It's used for high rounds on Derice because the insta-kill rounds, I know that doesn't really matter. This is not the point of the list, but it is just such in a good spot. When you pack it, it's also very strong, and it's overall just great. That's all there is. It's just an overall just great weapon. If it had a bigger clip, that would be good, but it's still solid. It's a solid choice. Now we have the 1911 coming in at number 6. I don't know if I should put this high, but I don't know. The upgraded version is just such a solid thing to have. I mean, obviously, it will kill you fast if you're not paying attention because of the splash damage, but it's just really good if you're trying to get through like early rounds, maybe even later rounds. This thing will just power through. It'll kill zombies mostly in one grenade shot, just one shot in general. That is if you're not like past like 25 or something. I don't know when this thing stops one-shotting, but obviously I have to put it this high because it's a starting pistol, man. It's like the predecessor to Mustang and Sally. This is literally what starts Mustang and Sally, which is just great. All right, now we have our top 5, and to start our top 5 we have the Browning. I thought this thing would be stronger than it was. Maybe I'm not remembering right, or I just never really used it enough, but this thing obviously is still a great choice. You have double tap and it's an LMG. It shoots relatively quick. it's kind of similar to the MG42, but it shoots much slower. It's more like a shooting slower, heavier hitting LMG, and the MG42 is more of a shooting really fucking fast and less damage. But obviously, shooting faster usually is a better choice unless the slower shooting weapon has a shit ton of damage. But this is where the Browning comes in at number 5. Number 4, we have the MG42. This thing is always just one of the best weapons because it shoots so fast. It's an LMG. It reloads really quick when you have a speed cola, and the DPS is just so fucking high. This thing will bring you to round 30, I think, relatively quickly. Obviously, you're gonna have to have another weapon with it because you don't have this thing on the wall. Unless you get max ammos like relatively quickly back to back, you'll be able to camp with this thing until the 30s relatively easily. It's just a great solid choice. It shoots so fast though. I can't comprehend how fast it shoots. It's just too quick, man. Alright, now number 3, we have the good old PP, man. If you don't know this thing, you might have seen me using it in like previous clips because the weapons I was using were not good enough to clear the zombies out, and this thing is just so insane. You have an SMG, right? The mobility of an SMG, the size of an SMG, the fire rate of an SMG, but you have the ammo of fucking LMG. It is like just the golden standard of a god tier weapon. It is so insane. When you have a weapon that's better than this thing, you know you're gonna have just the best time of your life. There's not many weapons that are better than this thing because it is so damn strong. The fire rate is so fast. The ammo is so good. The mobility is just out of this world. The reload speed is also so quick. There is literally nothing wrong with this thing, maybe other than the ammo, I guess. There is a lot of ammo, but since this thing shoots so quick, it runs out of ammo really fast, and it's not on the wall. If it was on the wall, oh man, this would be just, oh my god, the thought of it, crazy. Alright, now obviously number 2 is going to the ray gun. As I said, I'm including the ray gun and the Wunderwaffe. They're gonna be at the top of the list because they're wonder weapons. Now the ray gun, I feel like this is its weakest point is in World at War. I mean, it's like its strongest and weakest. It's the strongest because when it was introduced, we thought it was a godly wonder weapon. It was just like the best weapon we had. But it also has the most splash damage out of any version of the ray gun, which also is terrible because you will die really easily with this. Now, I'm pretty sure all of you watching know what the ray gun is. I don't really have to explain it. It's literally a pistol that shoots rays? I guess, is that how you explain the ray gun? I don't know, but ray gun comes in at number 2. Alright, now number 1, we have the Wunderwaffe. Is there any doubt? It's literally infinite damage. The only thing that holds this thing back is the amount of zombies it kills in one shot. It can only kill 10 zombies per shot. That's it. Is there really anything else I have to say with the Wunderwaffe? It just shoots electricity and shocks the zombies to death. That's about it. Alright, and that concludes our list for every World at War weapon. Now, if you do want to see me rank all the BO1 weapons, then all the BO2 weapons, then maybe even all the BO3 weapons, I will do that. It'll take me a while to do BO1, BO2, because there's a lot more weapons in those games. I won't do BO4 because I don't have the game. Maybe I will at some point if I actually get the game. I don't know. I don't have the money for it. And maybe I'll do Cold War. That'll be fucking difficult. But yeah, that concludes the list. If there's anything you guys want to see in particular, let me know. And with that, that's it. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.